How are you boys and girls doing? I know it looks like it's pretty outside. I ain't even been able to step outside yet. It's been kind of wild and crazy around here. Trying to get everything caught up for the week. What welcome to Casey's Take. And we're at the house today. I'll be honest, I wasn't moving around too good this morning, so I just decided I'd do it from the old panel walls. Of course, I got the pic pointed the wrong direction. That's the picture of my grandfather, all of his brothers, and his father. That's one of my favorite photos. That's why I kind of like doing it right here too. So, um, we got mostly baseball to talk about. I know there's other stuff going on, but I'm not watching it. So I'm going to talk baseball because that's what I know. The Braves just finished the sweep of the Reds yesterday. We're going to talk a little bit about the Braves. We're going to talk about the Jeffrey Simmons extension, which I know is a little bit of old news, but there are some other things around that I wanted to bring up, which I am happy he signed, by the way. So I want to talk Jeffrey Simmons. And then, just real quick, I did want to bring up the fact that the Tampa Bay Rays are 12-0, which is actually a really cool feat in baseball. They started off the season 12-0, and then we're going to end it with high school sports as we always do. So, I promise I tried to comb my hair this morning. I promise I did. But we're gonna go ahead and get the show started. Like I said, Braves sweep Reds, which is more or less just the title of the first take, I guess. I didn't necessarily care much about the Reds series itself, but I did want to talk Braves. I feel like this is a really, really good start for Atlanta. They're 9-4, which is the second best record in all of baseball, other than the Rays, which I did bring up at 12-0. It's hard to be better than perfect so far after 12 games. So you got to give the Rays a lot of credit for the really good start they've had. But the Braves are playing well. They've got the second best record in all of baseball. It does help that they have one extra game. There are a lot of teams that are 8-4. And of course, the Braves at 9-4, a little bit of the game ahead. So, excuse me, I'm sorry. I think the Braves have played well. I think they're doing a lot of things right. They're playing fairly decent defense. One thing I did want to bring up, and I was driving around thinking about this last night. Thank goodness for Orlando Arcia. I know that he got hit in the hand last night. The X-rays are negative. He should be able to play in a few days. I don't think he's in too bad a shape. Thank goodness the X-rays were negative. But I wanted to sit down. I didn't do it, but I wanted to sit down and I wanted to figure out the actual numbers between Orlando Arcia and Dansby Swanson. Now, I know it's only 13 games in the season for Atlanta, but I did want to sit down and see. I wanted to do some sort of graph that would show me the amount of money per hit between Orlando Arcia and Dansby Swanson, the difference. And I have no clue how good Dansby's playing. I don't know. I don't know how good the Cubs are doing. I have nothing against Dansby Swanson, but I was extremely against the idea of paying $170 million for Dansby Swanson. And I'm so glad that the Cubbies did it and the Braves didn't. Orlando's got he's got a game winner now, 2 game winners, I think. Does he have both walk-offs? He doesn't have both walk-offs. He's got one of them. I know he's got one walk-off. He's got a lot of really key RBIs in the 7th inning or later. He was hitting around 300 the other day. He doesn't have to hit 300. Dansby Swanson never did. Arcia doesn't have to win a Gold Glove. I don't know if Dansby ever did, but Dansby's defense was great. But if Orlando just doesn't throw an error, if he doesn't have an error every game and he continues this type of offensive output for a fraction of the price, man, that's really good. I'm actually really happy for Orlando. He had a lot of steam coming up through the Milwaukee organization, and I just don't think it never really blew up for him. I don't think he ever really got to that level that he wanted to be at. He struck out a bunch. Defense was not great, but ever since he's come to Atlanta, He's been a really important piece off the bench. And now this year, of course, with Dansby going to Chicago and Vaughn Grissom starting out the season in minor leagues, Orlando had to step up, and he did. He's been a big reason for why Atlanta's been as good as they have been throughout the first few weeks. Also, the pitching has been atrocious. Spencer Strider's ERA was under 3 before his start last night. He's got 9 strikeouts in each of his starts. And I say atrocious. Kyle Wright was not good. Schuster has been terrible in both of his starts. I get that Schuster's more or less, he is a rookie. I know that Kyle Wright's start yesterday was his first start of the season. They're not really up and going yet. Max Fried, of course, he got hurt in the first start of the year. So, pitching wise, the Braves really haven't got it going yet, but offensively they are rolling, and they do. They have one of the. I keep seeing my hair. I promise y'all, I think my headset messed it up. But the Braves can hit. They can really hit. They got offense all up and down. And like Matt Olson either goes 4 for 5 with like 6 RBIs, or he goes 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. He is as streaky as it gets in a game. But Matt Olson's going to be good offensively. Ozzie Albies, he hit career home run number 100. We've talked about Orlando Arcia. Austin Riley is one of the best third basemen in baseball. The outfield, which got a few injury troubles right now. Sam Hilliard's hitting over 300 to begin the season. Sam Hilliard is hitting over 300 to begin the season, and he's had to play a little bit. Oh, and then Ronald Acuna Jr. could make a case for MVP if the season stopped right now. He's been the best player on the Atlanta Braves team. The Travis d'Arnaud's hurt, but he was hot to start off the year. Murphy is starting to get his groove figured out, but we knew he was going to be good. The Braves are good again, and I love it. I'm really happy about it. I think I looked at the standings, and I want to say Philly's like 5-7 or 7-5 or something like that. The Mets are, I think, they're second in the East. They're like 7-6. I don't know. It's hard to keep up with all these teams, but the Braves are in first, and they have the second best record in all of baseball. So, go Braves, go Orlando Arcia. That's an awesome story. I hope he continues to play well. Him and Sam Hilliard both kind of remind me of each other. They're two guys that came up in a system, and I think those organizations kind of expected a little bit more out of both of those guys, but they never really hit. And I don't mean hit as offensively. I mean they just never really got to the level that I think those organizations wanted them at. But those are two guys that are playing really good baseball for a really good team right now. And they've got a lot of reasons to be confident. So maybe that continues. So that's it for the Braves. We're going to talk Jeffrey Simmons real quick. And then as soon as we get done with Jeffrey Simmons, we've got a little commercial we'll run in the middle. And then we're going to come back, of course, and talk Rays again, because I just want to bring that up. I thought how cool that was, and talk high school sports. So real quick, though, Jeffrey Simmons, y'all have to excuse me. I've been having to deal with stomach pains all week long. But Jeffrey Simmons, 4 years and $94 million or $96 million. I think 65 of it's guaranteed, somewhere along the lines of that, which I know sounds ridiculous. I always love it when you'll hear people say things along the lines of, that professional athletes don't need to make that much money and all this other nonsense. The sport itself is a money trough. It brings in billions and billions of dollars every year. And if the athletes themselves, the ones that are actually, have the talent and the ones that are working to make this happen, if they don't get paid, the billionaire owners will keep all the money. So for the people that complain that players get paid too much, sure, let's just let the rich billionaires that already make all the decisions in the world, just let them keep all the money. That's how stupid you sound when you say stuff like that. So please. Anyway, I just had to bring that up. Simmons getting 90-something million. 60 of it guaranteed. I feel like that's a really good deal as far as where the salary cap's headed. He is the second highest paid defensive tackle now, other than Aaron Donald, which makes a lot of sense because he is the second best defensive tackle other than Aaron Donald. Fletcher Cox is pretty good too, but I think Jeffrey Simmons is the second best. This is a really good deal. I mean, this is a really good deal. It's not 7-8 years. It's not Albert Haynesworth money. It's close, but it's not $100 million like Haynesworth got. And that was what, a decade and a half ago. That was a lot of money then. It was. But now, and here's the other reason why I wanted to bring this up. I feel like with the whole AJ Brown saga, whatever you think about what happened with that situation, the fans here in Tennessee needed to see a GM that would make sure one of our good players stayed. It didn't really matter how Simmons stayed, right? I mean, whether it was a franchise tag or more money or less money, whatever. The new GM had to do something to make sure Simmons stayed here as a Titan, because the reason why he has a job is because the last GM let go of the best receiver that had ever in Titans history. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Derek Mason. Drew Bennett was good. Are any of those guys as good as AJ Brown is? I mean, think about it. I just now thought about it to myself. Now, AJ didn't put up the stats, didn't stay nearly as healthy as he needed to be, but I'm just talking straight physical talent. I mean, AJ Brown and Dorial Green Beckham, who else could really put up a fight against AJ Brown? I think AJ Brown probably is the most physically gifted receiver that the Titans ever had. And Robinson decided to ship him out of town to Philly. I hate Philadelphia. Anyway, that's a different conversation for a different day. Again, I felt like it was important for Ran Carthon. I hope that's how you say his name. I have no clue how to say his name correct. I think it was important for him to get a deal done, just because the optics, the perception of the situation. It was important to keep Jeffrey Simmons in town, and that's what happened. I'm happy about it personally as a fan, as a Titans fan, because I like Jeffrey Simmons. I feel like he's worked really hard since he got here. He's been a staple of the community. He's done a lot of good things. He stays out of trouble. I know he had some issues in high school, as if, I didn't just go to Bible school in high school either. I mean, like, all of us made mistakes. So did Jeffrey. He learned from it. Every step of the way, he's always said he's learned from it. So good for him. He's made all the correct decisions, and now he's getting paid. All the correct decisions since his issues. And, he's worked hard through college. He worked hard enough to get a first-round draft pick. He's stayed out of trouble, worked hard, been a good football player, and now he's got generational type money to set back himself and his family for, at least the rest of his life and maybe some of their life. So good for him. I'm happy for him. And as a Titans fan, like I said, the optics, the way we were looking at this situation, it was just, I know a lot of us didn't want to see AJ Brown all over again. And I'll be honest, and I'm just gonna tell you guys this, and I say guys just in general. But somebody asked me at the end of last year if I would re-sign Jeffrey Simmons. And at the time, and there is still a little bit of me that feels this way, but at the time I had decided, let's just trade him. Because we weren't going to pay him anyway. We didn't want to pay AJ. I don't know where we have money. I don't know how we don't have money. As I say we as if I'm a Titan, like a front office worker. I ought to be, hey, give me a call. But I felt like the Titans could have traded Jeffrey Simmons and got back quite a bit for him, and which is true. But I was scared to death that it was going to be some sort of way that Jeffrey wasn't here. And I mean, what did we get for AJ? A first round pick that turned into Treylon Burks, who has What do you have? 34 more catches more than I did last year. I love Traylon, but he's got to be healthy. He's like anybody else. The best ability is availability. But hey, the draft is coming up. We're gonna talk a lot more draft stuff like next week before it starts coming up. I may have just an entire show where it's all draft. I may do that. I don't know. I haven't figured out what I'm doing. But we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna do a little commercial real quick. I don't know what kind of commercial Justin's got set up for you guys. But here you go.
Hockey in Music City just hits different. It's one big honky-tonk party. It's the sea of gold in the crowd, the goals, the saves, the celebrations. It's an experience like no other. Experience Predators hockey all season long. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets and join the Loyal Legion today. That's NashvillePredators.com/tickets, and we'll see you at Bridgestone Arena.
All right, and like I said, we're just going to talk a few more things real quick. My third take that I wanted to bring up was the Rays. The Rays starting 12-0. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because there's only been two teams that started 13-0. One is, I'm going to get the years backwards, but one is the Brewers, I think from 82, and the other is Atlanta from 87. The Atlanta Braves. I looked this up a minute ago. What was it? The 82 Atlanta Braves and the Brewers from 87. I knew I was going to get that wrong. That is so aggravating. I had just looked at that screen 15 minutes ago. I knew I was going to get it backwards. But both Milwaukee and Atlanta, Atlanta in 82 and Milwaukee in 87, started out 13-0. I wanted to bring that up because one of them's Atlanta. But then I also wanted to bring that up because 13-0 is the best start anybody's ever had in Major League Baseball. And the Rays, honestly, have a chance to, of course, I don't know if they play tonight, but they've got a chance to break. I mean, that's a 40-year-old record almost, 35-year-old record. So I think that's really cool. I think that's a really neat thing in baseball. Plus the Rays, who you've got Boston out there that's spending over $200 million. You've got the Yankees that may be close to 400. I have no clue what their money's up to now. I mean, it's insane what some of these big organizations are spending. I mean, but if you got the money and there's no salary cap, I mean, I get it. Steinbrenner's still running the Yankees from his grave. Speaking of the Yankees and Steinbrenner, they had a ball boy. They had a ball boy that he got his 10 seconds of fame on the Yankees telecast the other night, and the ball boy's got this really long blonde hair. He's got a little bit of a mustache right here, and he gets his 10 seconds of fame. The next day you see him, he's got the hair chopped off. I knew Steinbrenner had something to do with it. I know he's passed away, rest in peace. But he definitely had something to do with that. Old boy had to cut his hair off. I kind of felt bad for him. He had long blonde hair. I mean, like down to here. And the next day it was gone. I don't know. You couldn't pay me to be a ball boy for New York, much less make me cut my hair. I don't care about my hair. That kid probably did. He didn't have to touch that mustache, though. Yankees, they love their mustaches. But the Yankees, they spend their payroll is second to the Dodgers, I think. Maybe third now because the Mets spent like $2 quadrillion. The Mets have more money than a second world nation. So apparently they can just go out and buy whoever they want too. I hate the fact that baseball doesn't have a salary cap. But then again, even if you had a salary cap, you've still got teams like Tampa and Oakland who refuse to spend the money. They just refuse to spend the money. So, and that's the thing about Tampa. It's amazing what they're able to do year in and year out. They must have a few geniuses inside that building because it's really hard to imagine a way that they just keep coming up with talent and giving themselves a chance to win. And they play in a dome. I mean, I feel bad for the Rays. I don't feel bad for their fans. I don't feel bad for the owners. I don't feel bad for Tampa. The area of Tampa doesn't show up to help. That they don't care about their team. The fans don't care about their team. There are a few, I'm sure, hardcore fans in Tampa. I'm not talking about you guys, but I'm talking just the population in general. They don't care. They don't care. If you walked up and down the road in Tampa right now, I've got a thing of shoelaces. I'm just flinging it around. If you walked up and down the road right now in Tampa and you asked them what they thought of their baseball team, they'd ask you who you're talking about. Most of those people have no clue that the Rays are 12-0. You want to know how I know that? They can't get people to show up to their games. They can't get their organization to build them a new stadium. If I had more than $350, I promise I'd go buy them and bring them up to Nashville. Nashville might suck. I get it. I hate Nashville. There's way too many folks not from Nashville living in Nashville now. But if you had a baseball team, especially a good one, I mean, the Predators suck. And all you had to do was have a halfway decent show. And then they started to play good. Don't get me wrong. But the Predators, they started to really play well, and they really put on a show. They had people just in troves showing up to watch these games, right? So in Nashville, you've got a large group of people that like to go out and party and have a good time and spend their money doing stuff. The Rays have a really great baseball team. If you could go steal some of the smart people from the Predators, go buy the Rays, bring them up here. They could play out in somebody's backyard and you'd make all kinds of money because people would come watch this team play. They would. This is a really, really good baseball team that every year shows up and they compete. And they can't get their own fans to show up. They can't get their owners to build them anything. It's aggravating. I mean, it's really aggravating. But and I don't even care. I'm not a Rays fan. I'm not a Rays fan at all. But those players and some of those guys and gals that work out there, they deserve a lot more credit than what the Rays are getting. They're 12-0. They are the best team in baseball right now, statistically. Can't argue with it. So they're going for the record either tonight or tomorrow night, going for 13. I just had to rant about that. I wanted to complain because it aggravates me that the Rays are so good and they have 14 people showing up every night to watch them play. But heading on to high school sports, the last take of the day, we are in the middle of baseball and softball season. All teams have about 3 or 4 games a week right now. Sorry, I keep getting messages on my phone that I'm actually having to pay attention to. I don't know if any of y'all know me personally, but y'all know I hate paying attention. But I forgot. Oh yeah, high school sports. We're in the middle of the baseball season and softball. Now, as far as softball, which y'all know in the Dixon area, both Dixon and Creekwood, I mean, that you got two really potent teams that they've been to state the last few years. Both teams have. Dixon's had a little bit of a slow start. I think they've got a losing record. They might be like 3-11 or something. But I don't think they're nearly that bad. A lot of their losses are really close games. Coach Newberry, I think he's going to get his team figured out. I think he needs to work on the pitching a little bit. They've got Lola Shelton. She's really good. But I think they need to add a few more arms behind her. Creekwood, I think, is close to like 8-4, something like that. I just looked at all this, by the way. I don't know. But sorry, I reading something else over here again. I feel like some of these teams are really starting to hit their stride. Now, there are some baseball and softball teams in the area, and they know that this is going to be a tough season for them. They've got talent. They might be young. They might be working their way up. And there are other teams that, they don't have a lot of bodies. And their players are playing really hard and they're trying really hard, but it's going to be a tough season for them. And then you've got some other teams around here that maybe they haven't really hit their stride yet, but they know they've got the talent to play. And once they do start to hit that stride, you got a really good chance. We've also got some soccer going on. Sycamore beat Fairview, I want to say, last night, 2-0. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Dixon beat Henry County. That was either Monday night or Tuesday night. I want to say they beat Henry County. That may have been 1-0 or 3-0. It's hard to remember all these scores. I should just get me a big whiteboard and write all this stuff down. I'm trying to think what else other local stuff we got going on. In the Dixon Post next Wednesday when the paper comes out, y'all may get it Tuesday evening. I know it's kind of wishy-washy on when it shows up. But next week in the Dixon Post, we will have the all-county basketball team. That'll be the last all-county basketball team that I have, because I did both of Cheatham's a few weeks ago whenever a lot of the kids were out for school. And then, of course, I did the girls all-county team in Dixon. That was quite a few weeks ago. We're going to have that. We got track and field. We got tennis. We had some tennis photos in last week's paper. Dixon barely lost to it was either Rossview or Kenwood, I think. One of the Clarksville schools. There's like 4,000 of them. It's hard to keep up with all the Clarksville schools. But Dixon lost 5-4. I think it was Rossview last week in tennis. But we had some photos of that in last week's paper. Shout out to Marty Allison. Good photos. So I'm trying to think of everything else we got going on. That might be all of it. There's always other stuff going on, but I can't remember all of it. We've got Cheatham soccer tonight. They're hosting McEwen, I want to say. I think they're hosting McEwen. Sycamore soccer hosting Cheatham tonight. I was gonna try and send a photographer out to that, but our guy said that it was his anniversary with his wife. We're not gonna have a photographer out there. I'm gonna go watch my niece in a play. She's in a play at Dixon County High School. My mother told me what this play was. I can't remember what my mom said, and I don't know. I always enjoyed the arts when I was in high school. Another shout out, Mr. Sullivan. I loved Mr. Sullivan's class, drama class. It was the greatest thing ever. It was the best class I ever took. I was a freshman surrounded by junior and seniors. Most of them were girls. It was probably the best class I ever took. I loved that class. And I loved Mr. Sullivan. He was so cool. He used to, Mr. Sullivan, and he'd probably get mad at me if I told all this. My brother Andy Patrick, when he went to Dixon, he used to help Mr. Sullivan call the football games. And Mr. Sullivan danced with my mother. They were on a dancing team when they were very young. So I've known Mr. Sullivan, Randy Sullivan, for a long time. He's always been an incredibly well-spoken and kind gentleman to talk to every time I've gotten to talk with him. And he, like I said, he's known my family for a long time. So I had to say all that. But I'm going to go see my niece. I'm going to go watch her in a play tonight. I don't think she's a tree. I think she's actually got maybe a few parts and a few lines. That'll be fun. So I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to go watch that. That's all we got going on. We got a 29-minute show. And I talked for at least 27 and a half minutes of that. I mean, I was nonstop today, wasn't I? I didn't yawn, which I'm not tired. But I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me. Fairly decent show. Next week, we are going to bring up some more draft stuff. I'm going to find something else to swing around in my hand because that's how I operate. We're going to talk a lot more draft stuff. Maybe something happens in the world of baseball. Maybe something happens. Maybe we could talk Braves. They're going on a little winning streak. They're at 3 right now. So maybe they'll keep that going. But thank y'all for hanging out with me. And we'll see you next week.